Oh my goodness. It is time for live for 2026, my friends. Hi, Lisa Bowles here, otherwise known as the Soul Mapper, or just Lisa. That'll do just fine too. And wow. 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 So, to those of you who are joining me real time, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please know that, as usual, Erica is in the background holding the whole kit and caboodle together technologically and all other ways. Yay. Yeah, thanks, Catherine. Yay, Erica. Yay, Erica. I was just saying to her, like, I could not imagine right now doing all this without her. And because she does such a good job of taking care of us, doesn't she? Okay. There's a lot to cover. I hope you earmarked 90 minutes in your calendar, because we're going to be here a while. And I mean 90 minutes before we ever really get to questions. Please know you're probably going to have questions. Take a moment and grab a piece of paper or a couple of pieces of paper and a writing utensil and write them down. Okay? Because if you put them in the chat and there's lots and lots of questions, they could just get lost. Okay? And then when we open up for questions at the 90-minute mark, you can pop them in the chat, or you can toggle on your microphone and just speak it out loud. Okay? The format of this is different again. As you may remember, if you were here last year, there's just so much going on, and all of it interactive and cumulatively building a narrative. Okay? And I mean that most sincerely. And that's not exclusive to this year. The narrative that we were living last year is a foundation upon which this year's narrative continues to interactively and interconnectively build. So I'm conveying all this information today about 2026 and beyond in quarters. So first quarter, second quarter, et cetera, et cetera. So we can kind of go parcel them in chunks, because that seems to be more easy. It makes it more easy to go, so this quarter is thematically about this, and to digest relative to that theme and how it contributes to and is built upon by the next theme, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? The other thing I want to make you aware of is the slides are text light, much more so than in years past. Part of that is because there's just so freaking much, like, yeah, crowded. And if you've been around for the last 5-6 months, you've been receiving the implementation guides that take the content shared during these lives and puts it into dense format, but broken out in ways that are, again, easier to digest, easier to work with based on the feedback I've been receiving. So instead of putting it all into the slides and kind of, which can overwhelm much more easily, we've shifted things. So I just want to kind of give you that as a heads up in advance, so when we get there, you won't be surprised and go, and that is kind of emblematic of these times of ours. Change, rapid, and from almost every quarter is the new background or rule of the day. I don't like to use the word rule, but it ain't going anywhere. So I wanted us as a community to kind of go, okay, so there's changeability here too, so that we practice together, witnessing whether or not that knocks us out of our own center of gravity and practice coming back. Okay, as agents of transformation who are, we're being called up. The depth of our practice is really going to matter. It mattered last year, but hoochie mama. Okay? Okay. Now, I have my own set of notes, so I cover almost, yes, less is more. Thank you, Melissa. So I may not make direct eye contact. I may be, well, I'll be, because I have pages and pages of notes. I'm going to try and be judicious, even in an abbreviated form. Those notes are. It's taken me months to winnow it down to the most substantive pieces. And still there's a lot there. So if I don't make direct eye contact, if my eyes are just doing some of this, please understand that's why. It isn't because I don't love you. It's because I want to do the best job possible for you. Okay? I think that's everything. Erica, have I missed anything? Oh, there's Erica saying the guide is developed from the entirety of live. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Nothing to add. Let's go then. We're going to dive in. I just want to check and make sure. Like, I haven't checked to see if I'm center screen or top of my head's chopped off. Erica, am I positioned in camera decently?
Good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Carry on. Next seat. This is the end of an era and the birth of a new age. And I mean that most sincerely. We are days away. Like, today's the 18th. We are 2 months and 2 days away from a shift of proportions that have left me just mind blown for months. And when I talk about new age, I with the dawning of the age of Aquarius, like, I don't mean that, although some will take it that way. This is far more substantial and substantive than that. And there's both optimism and excitement and soberness in today's presentation, okay, in the year. Yeah. Next slide, please. The end of an era, the birth of a new one. Keep a lookout Friday, January 2nd for your 2026 bonus resources. The favored fields PDF for the whole year. The glossary of terms PDF, we have one. It's being augmented and updated, and because we're going to use some new terms this year. And the Live for 2026 replay with support guide. Now, if we can get the recording up in YouTube, on Facebook, in your platform, before then, we will. But the support guide and the 2 PDFs, they will not be available until the 2nd. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Also keep in mind, taking copious notes, trying to keep up will drive you crazy. So unless brief note taking actually helps you with your process, I'm going to suggest you write down single words, 4, 5, 6, 7, for each of the pieces that we talk about, the moves that we talk about today. And then just trust, and that's a big word, folks. We're going to be talking about that word all year. Trust that of you that is called, A, to be here, B, to work with what's moving this year, and C, to show up as the agent of transformation you were born to be now. Trust it is listening. It is absorbing, okay? And it will be working away in concert with this information. All righty? Okay. Next slide, please. So before we dive into 2026's big backbeat, there's a handful of things very much worth keeping in mind, okay? We're going to do this slide by slide. Next slide, please. Now, I talked about this just a moment ago. It's the end or the death of an era, and I use that word intentionally. If it triggers you, pay attention to the trigger. It's useful. It is the beginning or the birth of a new age. And at this point, I'm going to say it is early labor on the way to birth, okay? Those 2 words and all they hold are not just Pluto, okay, in Aquarius, but they are emblematic of a variety of influences of the year. Pluto in Aquarius is being joined here, there, and all over the place by thematically attuned and amplifying end and beginning, death and birth or rebirth. It's what some are calling a Genesis moment. What's a Genesis moment? The origin or coming into being of something. Now, so that can be a political movement, but in this particular case, is everything. The thing that I would add is that we are the creators of the Genesis, in concert with whatever you call the big beyond. Okay? In collaborative concert with. Alrighty? And those, arguably, at the beginning of the era that is coming to pass, were not in that understanding. Many of the human beings alive today aren't either. But you and I, at least cognitively, we have the opportunity to be. And that can change a whole lot. Next slide, please. Last year I said 2025's astrology was unprecedented, and it was. But this year's unprecedented squared. So, like, take that mathematical to the power of 2. That's what we're talking about, plus, for a handful of reasons. Like, it is off the charts and unprecedented because there's a whole bunch here happening that everything astrology and astrologers are watching and observing tell us this has never happened before. We have never been here before. And we've certainly never been here with this mix of realities and potentials. So when I talk about the end of an era and the beginning of a new age, that's in the Genesis moment, that's kind of what we're talking about. So we've never been here before, and it's a Genesis moment that is inviting us, needs us to participate as collaborative co-creators. Now, what does that mean? Because the new age people talking about it for a long time, but what does it actually mean? That's the question of the year. Okay, next slide, please. The end of an era, the last 9,000-year astrological cycle. 9,000 years. Think about where humanity was 9,000 years ago, what culture looked like, what societies look like, what the rule of law looked like, if there was any, who ran things, who didn't. Okay, just days away. When our dream keeper Neptune and our inner guru Saturn leave Pisces, effectively the old era ends. And there's a great many people and parts of us that will be in death denial and end of life review if we're willing to go there. And we have to be willing to go there. One of the things that I wanted to make sure we say to each other, to ourselves, is that we're going to be grieving if we aren't already. And we don't do grief well. We're going to be sad for all kinds of reasons, because some of what is dying is what we've become accustomed to, think we must have, think Pluto in Aquarius again. Okay? We're going to feel powerless. We have been, and there's more to come. Okay? When I say end of life review, I really want to encourage you all to pay attention to where you feel sad. Nostalgia might be a way of moderating that sadness. And I'm not suggesting you just rip off the Band-Aid, take a deep dive, but know that letting yourself feel that will be important. Because if you can't feel grief, you can't let go. And as ages of transformation who are being called to lead what's coming or what is, If we can't let go, we can't help anybody else do that either. Not really. Because they'll only be able to release or let go to the degree we are able. See what I mean by sober? Next slide, please. The beginning of this new age, the imminent 9,000-year cycle, is just days away. Okay? When our dream keeper, Neptune, and our inner guru, Saturn, meet to partner at exactly 0 degrees Aries, that new age begins. But it's the early labor of birth. So we are present to Pluto, representing life, death, rebirth, that whole transformational cycle. And here it is again, with the amplitude and magnitude of the beginning of a 9,000-year cycle, calling us into conscious collaboration and co-creation of a new age. Okay, next slide, please. Both the end and the birth are overseen, as I've said, by our transformer, which is, that part has never happened before. Not ever. In the multitudes of combinations of this working with that and that happening, well, this never happened before. And the presence of both, the working of both at power points, amplify and deepen the Plutonian themes of life, death, and rebirth, and transformation, as well as the experience of nothing makes sense and powerlessness alongside the call to return to power. We have to feel powerless, as insane as this might feel, to recognize the places and ways we are into a feeling of powerlessness or beliefs of powerlessness. Because if we're called to collaborate and co-create and kickstart together a new age, a new culture, a new societal set of beliefs and norms and all the stuff, if you don't believe in your creative power, okay, next slide. All of 2026's shifts and formations, okay, have never been lived or experienced in this combination with Pluto and Aquarius oversight. So Pluto and Aquarius, we've been here before, but not while Neptune and Saturn come to 0 degrees. And I'm going to talk about the meaning of that more when we get there. Plus all these other, it is gobsmacking all the ways the cosmos is orchestrating itself as our large and unique and individual proxies to support this labor and birth. And it implies that we intended to do far more at this beginning than we've been capable of at any other. How do you like that? Okay. That's why folks like you and I, being aware and working to deepen our ability to be here, present, self-possessed, sovereign, and capable of shared sovereignty while we reside in power, creative commitment to collaborating together, it matters. Next slide, please. There's a gobsmackingly important nodal shift in the mix too. The North Node moves into Aquarius, where we go out to develop new forms of mastery in areas that we are not familiar with, areas that seem unknown. See what I mean? And the South Node is in Leo, and boy, is that important too. Alrighty? Now, it is firmly fixed in place starting July 26th, but we get a first couple of before that. All right, July, just for the record, what a month. Wait till you see. Next slide, please. Similar to 2025, there's a whole lot of 29th or last degree. So each sign's 30 degrees, remember? And the 29th degree is a powerful, powerful place. It's the end, the culmination, the closing, the holy moly. And then the first degree is the beginning. Okay? There's a whole lot of 26th and first degree zaza going on, which is again end and start. And in two cases, that first degree energy in Aries at the very beginning of the zodiac signify far, 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 far more than a new zodiacal cycle. Okay? We'll get to that again. Layer upon layer upon layer. Next slide, please. All the major outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, become connected and work together through three rare and auspicious forms. Oh, will you see these? Each of them having profoundly compounding effect, and this in relationship to everything else. All five of the social, cultural change planets, the big ones, working together in rare and auspicious forms. And they all do it in 1 month. Vibes for a while, but holy moly. Next slide, please. There are so many seismic societal team-ups and the jaw-dropping currents and ripple effects flat out require the creation of a learning practicum series. There's no way, like, this will not be able to comprehend it all. And there's so much of magnitude that spending 90 minutes covering it as well as possible in brief is not going to cut it. It's just not going to do justice to it all or to you. Okay? It's just not. Too much potential and peril, to be honest with you, and that's the sober part. So, created a new series, and I'll tell you more about that series a bit later. So, if in the mix of all of this, you're like, wait, I want more. There's more coming, but it just couldn't be here. Okay? Okay. Next slide, please. Again, so much. We're using quarters to frame and track things thematically. Q1, the labor starts quarter. Q2, the labor quickens quarter. Q3, the formations quarter. And Q4, the relational quarter. And as I said before, each quarter and its themes builds on the previous one, creating an interconnected, interactive, and interdependent narrative. A narrative we must participate in as called for it to unfold and start to make sense. Now, I wish I could tell you that the sense making will precede the moves or come with the moves, and that's part of being the collaborative co-creation of this and the challenge. We are trying, so last year, those who participated in the deeper story of 2025, we explored two words, and this will be in the glossary: propensity and elevation. And those two words matter more this year, way more than last year. What we're trying to do is leave behind propensity, the unconscious orientation that has been the way we've always done things. Propensity. Elevation is to increase our conscious awareness and practice living the insights we gain as healing occurs, as awareness grows, as self-possession deepens. Okay? Those things allow us to sense make, to reside in and trust more deeply, there's that word again, our own sense-making abilities and those of those we're sharing sovereignty and co-creating with, which is kind of a tall order with a lot of people these days. Okay? And so we must respond to our own callings and lean in, participate for things to unfold and start to make sense, because it requires our sense making and that contribution in order for sense to be made. Okay? All right. Next slide, please. Before we dive in, let's do a really, really, really quick review. You might want to take a screenshot of this next slide. Next slide, please. These are currently in motion. All right? And the dates are at the bottom. They will be in motion where they have been working until those end dates, right at the bottom of each circle. Okay? You might want to take a screenshot and just keep that on hand. If you're unfamiliar with what these particular workings mean, please go back to Live for 2025 and grab the notes or your own notes. Okay? Refresh yourself. It might be useful. If you don't feel compelled to do that, then don't. But if you do, that's where to go. Because even right now, our inner guru, Saturn, for example, is working in Pisces, finishing up old. Yep. Okay. Our benevolent rebel, Uranus, is working in Taurus and will be until April 25th when he moves. We're going to be talking about that. So that's the general idea. Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. Key things of note for people like us in the body practices and therapies. Can I tell you how important that's going to be? Okay. Presence, self-possession, sovereignty, and shared sovereignty practices. Oh my God. And I don't mean that from the perspective of, if that's your work in the world, 2 thumbs up, 5 gold stars. I mean, we need to be doing them and at an even deeper level than we were before. And I'm just going to highlight shared sovereignty. Our understanding of that is going to be developing by leaps and bounds. And from the looks of things, there are those who are going to be working to undermine that because they're trying to hold on to the old era. And shared sovereignty really doesn't fit unless you happen to be of a certain milieu. Okay? The islands of coherence. I don't know who coined that phrase. If anybody does, please type it into the chat. But islands of coherence are absolutely necessary. Aquarius again, doing the work, okay, in community. But in community where coherence is present so you can be returned to an experience of your own. Because as these things go, like the waters are going to be choppy. And helping yourself return is going to get challenging if you're trying to do it by yourself. I just want to say this. That's by design because we are being urged by our proxy, Aquarius, come back into community, develop together in community. That's where we will be able to experience amplified coherence so that we can remember, find our way back to ourselves, and collaborate together so we can take the spirit of that restored in us out into our work and out into the world. Realizations and insights about the process of transformation itself. Wow. Which must then be lived into experimentally as we are called. Now, I'm going to say that as we are called. So what you're called to live into experimentally will not be what I am or whoever. Okay? So FOMO, fear of missing out. Or if you're trying to compete because stuff tells you you're supposed to, old era, hard. In the body practices and therapies, present self-possession, sovereignty, experimenting our way into a new paradigm while untangling ourselves from the old. We too will slip back into propensity. That's what the work of consciousness is about. That's what the work of healing is about. Okay? All called to deeper understanding of and living our authenticity. That word is going to be big again. But we have a better sense that you don't just cognitively decide you're going to be authentic. We have to work at allowing ourselves to be authentic. And in the face of some of the things, I mean, this last year has shown us what we might feel up against. And to be authentic in the face of that, uncertainty, chaos, and confusion are at the leading edges of practice and service for all of us. And so you might find yourself, if not saying it out loud, wishing it would all just go away. It's not going to. It is a component of the practice. We need that in order to help ourselves not go for or go less for that which we are accustomed to. We need to be confused so we don't just proceed from, you get me? Agents and facilitators of transformation must become more comfortable with and lean into their own practices. Okay? Purpose and calling, purpose and calling, purpose and calling. More people than we've probably ever seen in our lifetimes, and maybe in the history of humanity, are going to be feeling called. They probably are not going to know what that means. They're probably not going to like feeling it. And here's the other thing. They're probably going to, at least at first, attempt to live it from the framework of the old era and all the paradigms in it. All righty? We are going to be helping ourselves untangle ourselves from the old era and the paradigms in it. Right alongside them, we'll just be a little further ahead. Hopefully. Okay? Next slide, please. Change will continue at a blistering pace in almost every field and industry, bar none. So when the Favored Fields PDF is published on the 2nd, please go grab it. In this particular instance, I am just not going to focus on every field imaginable. I'm going to focus on transformation fields, related transformation fields. So you know, because otherwise it would be a book, not a couple of pages. Okay, next slide, please. So in order of when they began, here are the new backbeats for 2026. And the first one actually starts in 2 days while we're still in 2025, but the lion's share of its effect is in 2026. And that's Black Moon Lilith shifting into Sagittarius, December the 20th. Now, Black Moon Lilith was a new introduction of the pantheon of planets, our proxies, last year, because it is having tremendous effect. We're going to dive into that when we get into the quarters review. The next one are what I'm calling the 8 percussions. Okay? And what I mean by percussion is a beat goes out, whoa, 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 whoa. Another beat goes out, a percussive beat, whoa, 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 whoa. Everyone's going to feel it. They may not consciously understand it, but they're going to feel it. And it's going to affect percussively. So think frequency wave. In astrology, these are called trines or oppositions. So you kind of know what I'm talking about. In a couple of cases, the percussions are parts of a series of percussions, 3 and 5 respectively. And they are happening from January all the way to November. And we're going to review them, but they're going to be slotted into a quarter. Our Dreamkeeper Neptune shifts back into Aries and stays put. It went into review mode or preview mode, it's a better way of putting it, in 2025. But now it's coming to stay. Our inner guru Saturn shifts back into Aries, same deal, preview in 2025. It moves back into Aries where it's going to stay for a couple of years on February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. And then Mercury has a trio of retrogrades, all in water element. All of them. That means something. The new nodal law, an 18-month eclipse series, kicks off February 17th. And again, you may remember the North Node, where we go to out into the unknown to cultivate new mastery, to develop, to grow. Aquarius. Next slide, please. Our benevolent rebel, Uranus, shifts into Gemini. Okay. Our curative effect, Chiron, shifts into Taurus. All right. For a preview, our fortune finder, Jupiter, shifts into Leo on June 29th. The 3 formations happen in July. Our charisma of cause, Venus, goes into a big and significant retrograde, October, November. So if you just want a short form, so what happens when and what's the order? Go back to the previous slide, Erica. Take a okay, right now. And then the next slide, Erica. Take a picture of this. Print them out. Put them in eyesight. Because the rest of what we're going to cover is going to have more detail. Okay? Not gobs, but some. All right, next slide. Ready? We begin with the first quarter. Now, this is where I go to my own notes. Let me just go all the way back to the beginning. The labor begins, my friends. So think about water breaking. If you are an individual who has the ability to conceive, gestate, and then labor into the birth of a human being, and you have done so, you know what early labor is like. Very, very early. That's what we're talking about. Okay? Next slide, please. So, Black Moon Lilith shifts into Sag. Now, in the previous slide, I said the 20th. Some astrologers are saying the 21st. So I put both dates in here and promised I would say that out loud so you can monitor experientially when you sense, if you do, the shift, okay? It will be there till September the 14th, which is about 9 months. I don't think that time frame's an accident. Just saying. Black Moon Lilith is the feminine force, and I don't mean the feminine principle, but the feminine who refuses to be oppressed or controlled. Absolutely refuses. And Black Moon Lilith, in much myth and lore, has been blamed for being culturally disruptive in bad, and we don't do that here kind of way. So think about the story of Adam and Eve. Eve was that story co-opted to reflect Black Moon Lilith. Bad woman tempted this man to not trust God. Okay, you both get booted out. That kind of a deal. And Black Moon Lilith says, you can tell whatever story you want about me. You don't own my story, and I'm not buying what you're telling me. Okay? Now, for many of us, that piece of us got, I'm just going to say buried for protection, but it's always been there, and she is surfacing, has been surfacing these last few years like crazy. She's been working in Scorpio and will be until the 20th, 21st. Now she moves into Sagittarius. And that energy means that she begins to truth seek and truth speak. In a kind of adventuring, explorative vibe. But if her adventure and exploration, something attempts to curtail or control that, look out. She's also involved with truth seeking, informing philosophy. And this is the philosophical suspicion that sends her on an adventure or on an exploration. The other thing about Sagittarius that I'm paying really close attention to is honesty and outspokenness. Like, wowza. And the call to independence and freedom. Okay? So that's going to be alive in everybody, and I suspect particularly in women, or those who identify as women or femme identify. Right there. Now, I'm going to say more about masculine, feminine, both as genders or on the gender binary, and the creative principles of the masculine and feminine in the series that's coming up, because it really matters. And paying attention to it for people like us, that's going to matter too. Next slide, please. Percussion number 1. So remember I said, double Cazimi. What is a Cazimi? It's when a planet is side by side with the sun, and the sun's energy and power and force, energy, power, force of nature. That's what we call the sun here in Soul Map Land. The force of nature of the sun working and amplifying the power of the planet right next to it. In this particular case, both our action instinct, Mars, and our charisma of cause, boom, okay, are teaming up. Is a very, very, very big deal. So this lasts from January 4th to the 19th as they get closer and they get here. And then the exact partner team up is the 8th and 9th. Those days are going to be wow. Okay. Now, Mars is action, but where is action taken from? And you ever heard the phrase, what you say speaks so loudly, what you do I cannot hear? That's this too. That teamed up with Venus, our charisma of cause, is value and values. Okay? So who decides what or who has value? Who gets to decide what value is and where or how it's created from, and who benefits? Who gets credit for that value? Just based on all the things I see, and this has been kicking around for a while, it's not new, but it's going to amplify the desired control of the narrative. Okay? The desired control of the narrative. So think about the previous era and who got to decide this, and who wanted to control the story that was told about it, or the story that was told to the people about their place in things. Okay? And this is part of what and I didn't coin this phrase, culture war. And I know most of us don't like that word, but it applies. Because the folks who've benefited from the old era and all the paradigm structures of that era are going to continue to fight to hold on to it and their place in it. And so now with this percussion and its team up, because it's a double Cazimi, this is honkin' powerful. People like us and those we serve could be supported and boosted in ways that are kind of mind-blowing. And those who are backlashing about it, so just know that will be present. This implies a deep debate between proclivity and elevation. And I mean that. There's somewhere in all of us, there's a debate about this. And the call to elevate, bumping up against, yeah, no, we like this the way that it is. Okay? And inside all of that is, so how do I be self-possessed in here? How do I be most sovereign? How do I build the capacity for that? And in what ways are we called to develop shared sovereignty here in the face of those who would attempt to control our narrative and tell us what culture is or isn't? what value is or isn't, who gets it, who creates it, who benefits from it. You get me? Okay. Now think about that in relationship to your work and your purposeful business, because that's going to be there too. Okay. Next slide, please. Our Dreamkeeper Neptune shifts back into Aries on the 26th of January and stays until 2039. Okay. This is a call to enact vision, and vision of what this next age is going to be. What is the culture? What societal norms and agreements and beliefs are part of that vision? Who gets to enact that vision? Okay. So what is it, and who gets to enact it? And where does that vision come from, if you please? Does it come from proclivity, which is, I'm just going to say this, under astrological terms, conflict, dominance, war? The one thing I would say is that, quote unquote, war and conflict is not going to look like the way it has looked like. It's going to be different. It already is, but whoosh. So for those who hear that word and think World War I, World War II, atomic bomb type of stuff, I can't say that we won't see atomic activity. But even there's going to be some wild shifts of innovation, and the influence of humanitarian call for that energy to be used for the common good. But as these two, the old era and the new era, is just not going to look like what we understand war to look like. Okay? And then the elevation piece is, if we're responding to war and domination attempts sovereignly, what does that look like? How do I live that? And how do I live it in collaboration with community? And how do I be in community when people in that community might be not completely in congruence or alignment with me? Okay, next slide, please. Percussion number 2, the gathering. Mars and Pluto come together. Okay, super archetype. Along with the Sun, Mercury, and Venus. Now, Mars and Pluto are action, instinct, and are transformer. They're going to be the center of the super archetype. The others will be close, but not right up next to each other. But that's a pretty sizable gathering. That's going to happen on the 27th of January, and it happens in Aquarius. Okay? Power for the people or against the people? Okay? And the joining of the Sun, Mercury, and Venus is leaning into the narrative of new value or new values as foundational agreements and beliefs of the new age. Power for the people or against the people? What's the story? We live the story we tell, even though we may not even know we're telling a story. Okay? Next slide, please. Our inner guru Saturn shifts back into Aries. It was preview last year. Now it shifted back into Pisces to finish things up, 29th degree. And then it shifts into Aries again on the 14th of February and stays there till 2028. Okay, so this is the call to actively build the systems of the new age as a starting point. But here's the other thing that's also really interesting about our inner guru working here. It requires a kind of identity crisis. But if we proceed with the same identity that was formed and to some degree worked in the old, we can't take that with us because it will have us build from propensity. So a lot of people are going to be experiencing some version of identity crisis. It could be deeply personal. It could be, well, who am I in the face of this going on in my nation? Who am I in the, you get one, or a combo. And for a lot of people, it's going to be a combo. And for people like us, the identity crisis could also have to do with the call to power, because we're afraid of being powerful because all we've seen of it has not been fun. Okay, now that's not the only one, but that's certainly big. There's all kinds of, and the reticence to really buck the cultural system as we are called to be leaders of the creation of this new age. That's masculine and feminine, and the whole notion of a binary, but leaning into that. No, I have so much more to say about that. Oh my goodness. Leaning into that as a catalytic support for shifts in identity and understanding and the development or the advocacy of new systems. And I mean cultural systems. Domination masquerading as quote unquote right governance as opposed to shared sovereignty. And then the new reality of conflict and war. We can live it from propensity or we can live it from elevation, fighting for versus fighting against. Okay, next slide, please. The new nodal wa. Now, that image there is to show you that the nodes, they are not planets. They are points in orbits, okay? And you might want to take a screenshot of that so you can refer back to it. The new nodal wa will last for about 18 months. And the north end, where we go to develop in places we've never been before, in places where we feel uncertain and even insecure, we go out there to grow. We go out there to cultivate new forms of mastery. The other side, so this is on an axis, Aquarius here, north end, Leo on the south end. Alrighty? So this doesn't officially take hold until the 26th of July, but we get our first VVV on the 1st of February, or pardon me, on this February 17th. That's the first of 6 VVV along this axis. It is a solar eclipse, a new moon, and the first north node in Aquarius. So going out into the unknown together, because that's Aquarius, man. It is. So whenever a north node moves someplace, it calls us all. But in this particular case, that call is big. And it's amplified because Pluto's working in Aquarius and we've got other things going in Aquarius. All right. The thing that's also really intriguing about this is we're going out into the unknown together to develop new forms of mastery in the name of the common good. Those entrenched in the old, they're going to resist this. Visionary pursuits of innovation in the name of the common good, but the question then becomes which common? And so if you don't know what I mean by that, just do a quick Google of the word common because it generally means, the common life of all the people or the common where the people gather, okay? Go do a Google for a more comprehensive explanation. It means innovation. It means innovation in terms of humanitarianism, in independence and freedom, but understanding that our independence and our freedom is linked to the independence and freedom of everybody else. It doesn't come at the expense of others. It comes because we're all free. Nonconformity, rebellion, social justice, the rapid flow of information, so technology, and then intellectualism, so that we are more capable of witnessing things objectively. And that's awesome. That will be really, really useful, provided we don't hang out there and forget to come back into our bodies and into our hearts and in connection with our soul. Anybody out there do work like that? Next slide, please. Percussion number 3, the Aries point activation. This is the big kahuna. This is when the old age, and the new begins. Okay? February 20th is going to be a big, big, big day. It's when the water breaks. Last time it happened, 9,000 years ago. It is a progenerative explosion. What does that mean? It contains the power and function of creating or originating and producing new life and new culture. Okay? And again, you're going to have those entrenched in the old who are not consciously in the vibe resisting this because they want to retain. We get to decide who does that. That belongs to us, people. Okay? There will be a generative ideas explosion. And not just on that day, but because of this day. Again, it kicks off a 9,000-year cycle. But what will start to happen as a result of this day and what starts, okay? And there will be a rest for control over who gets to benefit or claim those ideas, okay? It also involves some other things that might be a little uncomfortable. But for folks like you and I, this is where we work with people, yes? What is real? What isn't real? Who decides? Where does that come from? Back in the 70s, astrologers in general believed that Saturn represented reality and Neptune represented illusion, full stop. Now, so the 70s, 30 years plus 25, 75 years ago. Now we know Neptune is the ultimate reality. That it represents and is the proxy for ultimate reality. And Saturn is the illusion that that reality is just what we can see in front of us. That's all there is. And that this reality down here, and is it complete? Is it full? Is it finished? No. Now we understand that those two were held in funky positions. The understanding was limited. It was a next best effort, but it was part of the old era. So even astrology and other forms of practice like it are going to be changing, updating. They have been, but there's going to be more. And it will be part of this, the Aries point activation. Okay? Next slide, please. Our communication savant, Mercury, first retrograde. Remember I said there's 3, a trio? They're all in water. This first one, water element, is in Pisces, and it's February 25th till March 20th. The pre-shadow starts on the 11th, and the post-shadow ends March 11th. So 11/11. Okay? Interesting. It has a balancing orientation. So remember I said earlier, intellectualism, which aids in objectivity. But this occurring in a water sign, in Pisces no less, it wants to balance out the intellectual orientation, the thinking, the mind. And it's our proclivity because we were deeply trained and required to live from here. As planned, that's got deep roots. And so this comes along and goes, so you just observed something and you've been thinking about it with your mind. How does that make you feel? What does that make you feel? How and what does that make you feel in relationship to the vision of where, as a participant in collaborating and creating this next era, where does that fit? Does it fit? Or are you going, whoopsie? What needs to be communicated about that so your objectivity has heart? and truth. Okay? And spiritual connection, Pisces. How does that then want or need to be communicated? Objectivity put through reconnection with the soul and the heart so that communication is balanced, dynamically so, but balanced. Next slide, please. Total lunar eclipse, full moon, south node, Virgo. So this is the previous nodal wa. The 18 months of they overlap some because one isn't finished. We still got some to go, and that's this one. It's the second last of the 6 that are part of its 18 months period. It has called to continue to release or let go tendencies towards perfection or perfectionism, over analysis, worry, and a need for control. Because it understands that self-possession is not the same thing as control. And self-possession cannot be experienced or lived from if you are over-controlling yourself. It wants to help us integrate a more intuitive, compassionate, and spiritual approach to life. And it wants to help us really let go of those things so that daily work as a form of service or spiritual practice becomes softer and more authentically attuned. All right? So I'm going to add one other word in here. Alongside perfectionism is comparison. Because, oh my goodness. Q2. We're going to have to pick up the pace, folks. See what I mean? There's just so much. Labor quickens. Next slide. Percussion number 4. I'm going to call this contagion. And this refers to what I said earlier about conflict or war. What we're just going to see, and what we've already started to see, because some of these the vibes of these are so big, we're already feeling some of the effect of them. So this is Mars, our action instinct, and Saturn, our inner guru, team up. So, right? Think about what we just said about Saturn. It is the illusion that what's physically present is the only thing that's real. Well, that's that. And so from propensity, it's like, this is all that's real, and we're going to fight to protect that. And we get to control that. We get to decide it. And we're just going to see contagions of wrestles between who says what's real and who doesn't. Okay? Remember I said before, like if you look at the propensity towards conflict, we're not going to see what we saw during the last 2 world wars, but a more peppered kind of contagion where the same themes of wrestling for control and who owns what or who, all those things, okay? Just peppered throughout the world in governance and expressions of power. Because sometimes expressions of power, as they've lived through us in propensity in the old era, they are not what real power is. So some of what is here asks us to go deeper into our instincts, much deeper into our instincts, and help ourselves lift away. So if you want to think about contagion, think about it this way. I have a contagion, and I need to help myself heal. And if I follow my action instinct and the wisdom of Saturn to help me build new foundations that help me be in active self-governance and accessing power from elevation, different. Inside this is also the call to everyone, everywhere, all at once, engaged in addressing contagion differently. Now, almost all of Q1 has been stirring and will continue to stir this because there's vibes still going, okay? Next slide, please. Our benevolent rebel Uranus shifts back into Gemini, okay? It goes retro okay, Taurus, and shifts into Gemini. And he loves being here. Loves being here. It's going to be here April 26th till 2033. So what's that? 6 years? Is that 6 years? Expect from this lightning bolts, disruptions, surprises. Why? Because what Uranus understands is that the human part of us, the animal part of us, likes steadiness and predictability and continuation, because then we feel as though we know what's going to be happening. Uncertainty scares the daylights out of us. Uranus understands that. As our proxy, what he is been assigned with by us is to come along and kind of sneak around the side and go, wee, because your fear of the uncertain means this wouldn't shift. You wouldn't even look here. You don't even know to look here. So I'm going to send you a lightning bolt. I'm going to send you a disruption. I'm going to send you a surprise so I can sneak past your defenses against what you wanted me to help you live now. So expect aha experiences. I also want to say there's going to be some people who wake up. This, Uranus is also known in astrology as the Great Awakener. And we could have people popping awake, kind of rudely in some cases, all over the place. Okay? But they're going to need to be met, because so think about waking up from a deep sleep and the lights suddenly get turned on and you are not in the room you fell asleep in. And there's a lot of banging going on around outside. To be met by someone who can hold space for you, hold you. Yeah? Okay. Quantum leaps in wildly unexpected ways and directions. And here's the other benefit about that. That is uncontrollable. What Uranus, our benevolent rebel, wants to do is hand us the opportunities to be uncontrollable in the face of forces wanting to hold on to. Yeah? But that's going to stir us up too. And we have to help ourselves partner more with Uranus so that if he throws a quantum leap in our direction, we can lean into the uncontrollable nature of it so we are less hampered, we are less controlled. So unbounded curiosity, that's often intellectual, but again, we need and want to see things more objectively. And the profound effect on technology, and particularly communication technology. Now, we have on occasion talked about both, and that we're attempting to marry because Gemini is the twins. Okay? How can both be present? So we don't live over here in just this one and denigrate that one or try to knock it off. And we don't just we understand these came from the same source. They're tied together, both and. How do we function there? Okay, next slide, please. Profession number 5, the big bending. So we just talked about our benevolent rebel, who's going to be working in Gemini. He bumps into the Aquarius North Node and shakes things up at what is known as the bending. Okay? And at the bending, we are almost always compelled out into the unknown because it's necessary, but it's like we're standing on our tippy toes at the end of a diving board going, yeah, I don't think so. And our proxy comes along, the Great Awakener comes along and goes, I'm sorry, but you told me you wanted to do this, so boop. Okay? Boop. This will affect, in particular, communication, information sharing, and technology all over the place, provided and there's going to be back and forth about this, that all those are put in service for the common good. How do we do that? While we're okay. There could also be extraordinary moments of insight and clarity about what's around the bend. Because if we're uncertain, as we're supposed to be, so we can elicit and generate new forms of mastery, okay, this implies that there's kind of a bend, and we haven't been able to see past the bend. Well, here we might be able to, in fact, many will be able to gain insight and remarkable clarity about what's around the bend, that we can, it's then our call to communicate for the common good or to the common good or both. Okay. Next slide, please. Curative effect, Chiron, who has been working in Aries for a very long time, shifts into Taurus. June 17th till September 17th, 2026. Now, why is that? Because that's same year, huh? What? That's a preview window. He's going to go into retrograde on the 17th, and he will go back into Aries for a while and return to Taurus in 2027. So we're going to get a preview. Okay. And in that preview, the core wounds of self-worth, security, and our connection to the material going to get attention. It also wants to take us on a learning and perhaps healing journey from scarcity to abundance. Now, many of you have heard me say this, but I'm going to say again because holy moly. What my work has taught me is the first and primary source of scarcity is a scarcity of self. When we are living in an experience that, and we don't cognitively understand that, we are not present to ourselves. We feel profoundly insecure and we panic. We go into extreme anxiety and we get triggered far, far, far more easily, and we flail. And abundance is very, very far off, because the first kind of abundance we're looking for is the fullness of us. Okay? And the valuation, not as a commodity, but as I value myself exactly the way I am at any given moment. So valuing inner resources, physical embodiment, which will be a balancer for all that intellectual, cognitive air kind of objectivity that some of us are just going to not know how to not be stuck in. Developing gifts and practical healing, creating tangible security. Say what? In the midst of all this? But very new. And fostering authentic self-worth through embracing vulnerability and physical presence. We're also going to be attending to feelings of inadequacy, particularly as it relates to quote unquote wealth, healing a disconnect with the body, transforming pain into wisdom about inherent value. Okay. And ultimately, if this is your calling, becoming a grounded healer for others, even more deeply than you may experience yourself to be now. Next slide, please. Our communication savant, Mercury, goes into its second retrograde, this time in Cancer, June 29th till July 3rd. The pre-shadow starts on the 16th of June. The post-shadow ends on August the 6th. And it offers a balancing orientation, just like the first one did, relative to intellectualism and objectivity. But the focus is a little bit different. It's on nourishing and nurturing what is being conceived, gestated, born. Okay? So communication, story. Remember I talked about we live the stories we tell. Do we know which stories we're telling? Do we know how that dramatically affects what we live? Are we being nourished? And that can be like actual food and hydration, but it can be much, much deeper. And in Cancer, it often is. How and what do you think about home? metaphoric, personal, national. How do you feel about what you think, about what they think, about home? What needs to be communicated about that so your objectivity has heart and it is related to nourishing and nurturing? What is being conceived? What is being generated? What is being born? And how does that want or need communication? Next slide, please. Our fortune finder, Jupiter, shifts to Leo. Oh my goodness. Now, think about this. Leo, on the other end of the nodal Wa, the new one. Aquarius this side, Leo on the other side. Excuse me? So Leo gets big vibes because Jupiter, our fortune finder, was starting on the 29th of June until 2027. This is expansion orientation squared, particularly around creative self-expression. And I'm going to say this, creative self-expression. So this would be asking, remember I said earlier, identity crisis? So the more you express, however you're designed to express creatively, the more clear you'll get about yourself if you're bumping into who am I? And the urge, the cosmic vibes for expansion are enormous. So there could be powerful headway made fairly quickly. And I'm just going to say this. Quickly is not necessarily the best answer in all circumstances. That's old era. Alrighty? And that's a tough one to leave behind. Okay? Leadership spotlighted here. Oh my goodness. But so is the kind of celebrity vibe given to leaders. And the question in here is that okay? If you're called to leadership and there's a little bit of celebrity thing going on, are you going to pull back or are you going to keep saying yes? And what do you have to creatively self-express from self if you're called to lead? And what is leadership anyway? Because Leo is fundamentally creative and will be saying to those who feel called, yeah, but just because that's what they lived and just because that's what they say it is, that doesn't mean that's what it has to be for us. So it will come with an amplified optimistic approach to things. So not just an optimistic approach, but one that is bigger than usual, which in the middle of all this could be very welcome. Now think about proclivity and elevation, okay? Proclivity, the repetition of old leadership is, I want to hold on to this. You can't take it away from me. I'm the leader until I say I'm not. And holding onto the spotlight for self rather than in service to the common good. Or the evolution or transformation orientation is for and with the people. And so I want to remind you it's both and, because Gemini, and it doesn't have to be, if we're looking for all one or the other, oopsie. Q3. Next slide. Okay, the formations. Now there's more than just the formations here, but the formations are the thing. Next slide, please. Formation number 1. This is called the envelope. Okay, it will be potent and having effect from July of 2026 till 2028. But July 7th through the 31st is when it is exact. And what I mean by all the angles are exact, which means the vibe sent out by this formation is the most potent it will be throughout this 1.5 year long formation. Now let's talk about this. The cosmic energy in this is of powerful restructurative transformation. Old era, reconstructed. So think about what we know about a caterpillar creating a chrysalis for itself, okay? and then went inside, dissolving into goo and using all the elements of what it once was to now create what it is next going to be. That's this. It highlights the interconnectedness of different facets, different elements that are inherently part of the whole, so that we are less likely, especially if we're consciously working with this to the best of our ability, we're less likely to go, you out, you out. I don't want you, bye-bye. What went in and became goo is what comes out. Okay? It urges working in concert towards a unified higher spirituality and a higher spiritually significant outcome. See what I mean about July? This is just the first one. Next slide, please. The Star of David. July the 7th until the 31st. Now, and that's a good chunk of time, right? The interesting thing about this too is that the angles that make this up, and I'm going to get into this far more deeply about the planets involved and like all that stuff, so we can look at this much more closely and hopefully feel the call of the pieces of this that are relevant to us and our work and our place in things. One of the most remarkable things about this formation and the one I'm going to talk about in a moment is that they're all working at the 4th degree. Okay, this is rare. And what this offers us is it revolves around harmony, balance, and the integration of diverse energies. Really? But it's coming at us differently. It has immense creative potential for stable outcomes. That's the 4th degree. It's a powerful pattern. Okay? One of which is in all earth signs, and one of which is all water signs, signifying a unique potential for spiritual and material alignment. Now, here's the trick, and this will be true of the next formation we talk about. It requires conscious effort to activate, work with, and harness these energies. The need for inspired action is in the mix. Otherwise, what can happen is we can just feel kind of good and rest in inertia. Passive propensity will reign. Okay? Now, some of you have heard me say over the last month, 6 weeks, please make sure your friends are here. This. What is opening in July? And if you don't know, and you're not supported in leaning in with this, agents of transformation will remain inert. And they will live in propensity. And they won't want to, but they will. Okay? There's so much more, but next slide, please. Formation number 3. This is called the cradle. It's active from July the 15th till the 29th. And again, it's working 4th degree. This, because of its unique nature, its formation, it focuses on the themes of stability, security, creativity, and the integration of inner and outer. It's highly, highly, highly supportive, yet dynamic in encouraging the use and the development. So development first, the use of a safe foundation. But it means you and I, we got to talk about what's safe. What is that? Where does it come from? Because that foundation will help you navigate complex life experiences. Okay? That will support and even lift up personal and collective growth. Oh my goodness, July. Next slide, please. Percussion number 6, experiment your way into opportunity. Our benevolent rebel Uranus in Gemini, remember, kind of sneak around and go zzz, zzz. It power teams up with our dream keeper, Neptune in Aries, on July the 15th. This is the third of 5, and that's a really important. So these two do this particular dance together 5 times. 2 happened last year. 1 is happening this year, and it's the middle. Okay? And it has, in a smaller but still really, really powerful way, a vibe similar to the Aries action point activation, which means in July, we send ourselves this, okay, with the call to experiment our way into opportunity. If we've gotten jazzed, and by jazzed I mean, kind of jostled, and we're more out than in our own center of gravity, and the optimism we occasionally feel isn't with us long enough, and we're just kind of shaken and stirred. This comes along and reminds us deeply and kind of goes, experiment your way into opportunity. All is not lost. Don't believe that it is. Okay? Insights galore. If you need the call to act and you can feel, I need an insight in order to do that, because sometimes that is true. Boom. Now, for those of us who are risk averse, okay, our old triggers and old trauma or old era framework that still resides, at least in pieces, inside us, is interfering with the call into this new age and our position as someone at the front lines, and into increasing capacity for self-possession. If risk knocks us out of self-possession, and as a result, an expression of courage. If trigger or trauma owns us, and not us owns us, then we will either we will just not experiment, or we'll inhabit the call to experiment our way into opportunity, carrying with us old pieces of the paradigm, the last paradigm. We want to be careful. And I don't mean so careful that you just risk averse. Okay? This is why islands of coherence, critical. Because when stuff like this comes along, we want to be in the company of those who are saying yes to experimenting their way into opportunity. Okay? There will be bad actors, likely, with this one. Now, there's bad actors now. But people who come from propensity and proclivity, because the question also up as we, in these very early days, kind of walk our way together into, so how do we create new culture? What would we like that to be? The question from the old is, who owns opportunity and the outcomes? Who owns the credit for that, for the experimentation and the innovation and the outcomes of that? Who owns that? Me. You don't get that. Really? Okay, so that's in here too. Again, islands of coherence. So you're not out meeting that all by yourself, and you're being restored back into vibe because you're connected. Okay? Next slide, please. Percussion number 7A. So there's 2 of these, one in this quarter, one in the next. New approaches, if you please. Our benevolent rebel. Power teams up with our transformer, July the 18th. It's the first of 5. Okay, so there's 7A, 7B this year, and then more next year. What this will, I just need to say, if you're an agent of transformation and you know that, this will be calling your name. And the approach that this will be calling us to is one that comes from your nature, your makeup, your creative essence. And boy, I have more to say about that, but we can't do it right now because, oh my goodness, too much, of course. In partnership with the formations of this quarter, it requires active engagement. Otherwise, you will shift and come from propensity. And I know you don't want that. Next slide, please. Percussion 8A. There's 2 of these. This is the first, the next one I think is in the next quarter. Are you as awake as you need to be? There's a great many of us who believe or know that we work in transformation who are pretty set on, I'm awake. New age. So our Dreamkeeper, Neptune, working through Aries, power teams up with our transformer, Pluto, in Aquarius. Oh my God. Like, Hoja. July 25th. Now, again, this is overlapping with the formations, requiring active engagement. Pay close attention to your resistance for signs and clues that are specific to you. And if you work with clients, pay close attention to theirs for signs and clues. Resistance to old era vibes and demands about being awake, they will be here for all of us. There's just, they can't not be. Okay? If there is resistance, pay close attention. All right? Next slide, please. Oh my gosh. So, the new nodal wa, Aquarius and Leo, this time working the south end on August the 12th. This is a total lunar eclipse. This is going to be big. Total lunar eclipse, full moon, south node in Leo. So south node is, you have developed forms of mastery. You brought them into life with you as gifts and natural genius, things you don't necessarily have to work at to develop. They're just here. But they're also places of comfort you scoot back to. I scoot back to when we're feeling insecure, uncertain, unequal to the task of developing new forms of mastery in the unknown. We'll just come scoot back like, I know this, I'm good. Okay? This one is going to give us a really significant support for release so we can move into the path of growth that Aquarius is offering at the North Node. I'll say more about this in the course, but oh my goodness. And again, just be aware that the formations and the couple of percussions that are working with the formations, like they kind of put the tracks in place so this could kind of ride into town on top of them. All right? And that matters. It's also a pull to self-expression. So what new forms of self-expression are being called for out here in Aquarius, but you're kind of sticking with the, and that means the same old messaging, yeah, to yourself first and foremost. But, and what self? What self is communicating? Okay? We'll do more in the course, and it will matter. Then, next slide. Lunar eclipse, full moon, North Node in Pisces. Now, this is the last one of the last nodal wa. The closing eclipse happens on August 28th. Notice it's in Pisces. Notice it's the North Node. So we're like, okay, so what spiritual am I still working towards here? And how do I bring this to a close? Again, more to be said, but yeah. Final quarter. Next slide, please. Relational reckoning. And that relational reckoning is being continued. Okay? We got one last year and a couple of years before that, but this, because everything else that's going on, next slide, please. Percussion 8B. You as awake as you need to be. Same players. This time it happens on the 16th. Pay close attention to your resistance in relationship for signs and clues. And I don't mean just intimate partner relationship. I mean relationship with your child, with your parents, with your neighbor, with your work, with yourself. We are in the midst of a reckoning. Okay. And when we get to this, you'll have a better understanding of what I'm talking about. Just pay really close resistance to your resistance for signs or clues about where old era vibes and demands are kind of choking out awakeness. Okay? It wants to help you rebalance, particularly about where you've grown in power and vision too. Okay, whenever something like this comes up, are you awake as you need to be? Oh, I'm not, and I haven't done this, and yeah, but where have you? And are you claiming that? Because resistance there is also important. Now think Black Moon Lilith working through Sagittarius. September. All right. Okay. Next slide. Our communication savant, third retrograde, this time in Scorpio, October 24th to November 13th. The pre-shadow starts on the 10th of October and the post-shadow ends on the 17th of November. And I would watch this one carefully because Scorpio, there's a kick to it. Again, balancing orientation because it's water element and it's powerful so that we don't get stuck in intellectualism versus leaning into the objectivity that being intellectual situationally provides. Okay? The focus largely is on power. So as you see this or as you consider this, what or how does that make you feel or experience in relationship to power? What you understand about power, what you've liked about it, what you don't like about it, what you don't want about it, what you do, who has it, who doesn't, how it's used, how it's abused, etc., etc. When getting in touch with the water element here, your heart, your feelings, the truth of what you feel, what needs to be communicated about that so your objectivity has heart, and how does it want or need to be communicated? Okay. Now here we go into the next one. We could talk for at least an hour about this. There's no way to do that. Next slide, please. Our charisma of cause, Venus, has herself a big retrograde, October 3rd to the 25th in Scorpio, and then continues by shifting back into Libra, where she'll stay in retrograde October 25th till November the 23rd. This is a continuation of a reckoning that's going on internally about the binaries of what it is to be male or female, mostly female, what the feminine principle is, what's our understanding of that, what's that got to do with value and values, and our relationship to our own value. It also talks about a reckoning between the masculine and the feminine creative principles and how they are or are not showing up in culture, and whether we have cultivated enough spaciousness and self-possession to hold that. This is going to be a big one. And that's why this quarter is called Relational Reckoning. Is going to be big. And we're going to be feeling this as much, especially those who are sensitive, we're going to be feeling these as much as a month before it officially begins and for about a month after. And there's going to be ripples to this. Those who are anchored in and want to keep on in the old era, as this moves through, expect some louder noise. Again, more to say, and holy cow. Alrighty? Because it starts where it starts and then it shifts into Libra, and that'll have a different vibe, and there's things to know about that, and there's just no way to cover it all because we're already over time. Okay? Percussion 7B. New approaches, if you please. So this is the second of 5. Our benevolent rebel, Uranus and Gemini, power teams up with our transformer. Much of what I had to say earlier, it participates here too. November the 29th is the power day. And if you're a transformation, this will be calling your name. There's one significant difference with this one. It is no longer actively working with the formations. So it's going to have a bit of a different vibe, but it still matters. Okay? Okay. See what I mean? Live from February 2026, Thursday, January 29th, 1 p.m. Eastern. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's the wrong date. Let me look at this now. It's not the 29th.
Wait a second.
Thank you. I wondered if that was just me. Okay. Sorry, folks. I got kicked off for a minute there, but I'm back. Is everybody here with me?
Yes, I was trying to find you.
It just popped me out for some reason. Thank you. Sorry, guys. Erica, are you okay?
All good.
Okay. Can we go to the live for February slide, please?
That's where I'm at.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. This is also the opening slide, so I wasn't reading the material. Apologies. For February, it's on Thursday, January 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern. Okay. Check your own local time. Alrighty. Next slide, please. So, 5-part series. It will be interactive and practical. So we're going to do some practice together because this is all very new in many respects for a great many of us. The deeper story of 2026, okay? There's 5 pieces, and we're going to space them out over the course of the year because we're going to need time to go practice and then come back and ask questions and witness and all that stuff. We're not going to try to do it all because digestion and practice. So the first one, vision and story, February. The second one, what's going to be up in transformation? Really? We're going to cover that in April. Okay? Because we'll have had a little bit of time after the Aries point activation will have happened. Okay? Then the next one, masculine, feminine, and culture wars. We're going to do that in June. Money marketing and the reckoning in business. Okay, that's connected to, but distinct from the relational reckoning. There's stuff, oh my goodness. And that will have effect on what'll be up in transformation, but we have to do that first. And then AI, tech, and AI. Yeah. That's October. Okay. It's going to be $250 to join till January the 19th. After that, $300. So there's a kind of an early bird rate. The link, if you want to go join that, is right here on screen. Erica is going to pop it into the chat. If you are an annual current member, this series is part of your membership, so don't purchase it. Okay? If you're a monthly current member, your 40% discount applies. If you are neither, I cannot encourage you enough to consider becoming one. Because Island of Coherence and so many other things. Because we're going to be practicing together all that we've covered. All right? Able to ask questions, able to explore, able together. Please put yourself in. Okay? Please put yourself in. And you get the course as part of your membership. If you're coming in as an annual member. So anybody here, still here, an annual member that wants to share what their experience has been like or is like? what's the link to annual membership? If you go to the link that's on the page here or being popped into the chat, you'll see it on the page, Kalita. It's a purchase option, okay? Yeah, so anybody here from the current who wants to share about their experience or what it's been doing for them? Susan's just popped something into the chat. Anybody want to speak it aloud?
Hi, Lisa. This is Karen.
Hi, Karen. Oh, I'm so glad you're here, woman.
Thank you. Thank you. I really loved the Chiron course you did this year. For me, that was worth the membership just in that course. And I loved the deeper story. I think we did a deeper story last year too.
Yep.
And so I thought it was totally worth it to be in the current, and it's really been helpful for me. So just wanted to say that all those courses that are available. I haven't even done the moon course yet, but I'm planning on it. So thank you for all that.
You're very welcome. And I'm glad you brought up the Chiron course. So thank you for saying that. Because Chiron's shifting into Taurus, there's going to be a new chunk that gets added to that course. No additional charge. Okay. Kate, Erica, do you see Kate's question?
Yep. Kate, email me at concierge@thesoulmap.com and I will get you all the information you need. Sylvia's got her hand up.
Oh, cool. Sylvia, hi.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks.
Hi.
Wow. Ooh, what a year.
I know.
I thought this year was something.
Yeah. Ditto.
I see now it was just a freaking preview.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But I want to say about the being part of the current. What stands out for me is this whole thing around sense making, that the ability to have these conversations and to gain a deeper and more grounded experience of sense making relative to what's happening with the planets, how we can partner with all these massive energies, and then how that's actually showing up in our lives.
Yeah.
It makes a huge, significant difference. And not just in the ability to negotiate these waters, but also to actually have some sense of inner peace relative to being able to negotiate them, to not always be in a state of constant agitation.
Right.
Huge difference.
Boy, thank you for saying that, Sylvia. I find I have the chance to work with this all the time. And having an understanding of the context and in a way that helps me make sense of my own reactions or stirrings, or helps me come from and that then helps me tune into how I'm supposed to proceed and what way. So I really appreciate your articulating that, Sylvia. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you, because it is inordinately helpful. It really is. It makes a huge difference. And we need all the stability we can get.
Ditto, woman. Oh my God. Yes. When we talk about islands of coherence, like the need for, and I know that's metaphorical, but the need for places where we can gather with people who are genuinely and devotedly working the edge in their life, in their work, and in the world, it matters. Because, think about what's happened in the last 12 months. How jostly, white watery, of all the adjectives, what that's felt like. And how easy it is to get knocked out of our own center of gravity and have a hard time finding it to go back. Having islands of coherence, where there's shared language, shared understanding, shared commitment, it's going to matter in ways I don't even have words for. So if you could use more of what these women have shared, please, please, please consider it. This is so less, it's felt like an assault, says Melissa. Yep.
Yeah.
I get that. And the vibe of all that Aries energy that means that pushback is, and that quote unquote assault, it's going to get bigger. And
Oh, God.
okay. Well, the propensity piece is significant. Think about those who hold power and dominance and lean into the old story of conflict and war and don't want to let go of the domination they are experiencing or have been experiencing or are starting to experience the way they're starting to experience it. Okay, so when I say we need these places, we need these communities, I'm really not kidding. Okay.
I was going to add too, if you want.
Oh, thank you. Yes, please do, Maggie.
Well, I agree with everything that's been said. And so when I have the soul map, I love it. And the current, even when we're not in a course, the courses are fantastic and take things more in a deeper way without, like you're so supported with Lisa and the group. And it takes the work I've already done and helps me kind of like keep transforming and working with it. It's like this very alive process. And then even when there isn't a course, just your live with Lisa's on Fridays and the other, the podcast.
The podcast.
Yeah. It really grounds me through the month. So it keeps me, because I get so distracted. So I look forward to those. And I love the live with Lisa because also that's where we're talking to each other and we're in conversation and listening to someone else. I learned something and I know from what people have said, it's mutual. And I've worked really hard for the last number of years on my own work but since Trump's coming back, I could have been like, I can't fall asleep every night. And that just, this helps me on top of the work I'm doing and done, helps me not to have that. It's very, very rare. And that's with the assault every single day.
Yeah.
It's very, very rare anymore that I cannot fall asleep, that I can find a place within myself to feel safe. And then also, as Sylvia said, it gives a place of like safety, but also of like, okay, I have a sense of what may be coming or to pay attention to.
Right.
So,
and help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really helpful for me. And if you're at all like me, and even if you're not, where it's easy to kind of listen to each month's soul map, but then you may forget to tap back into it. It really keeps me in, relating and actively involved with all that Lisa's offering, which is so much. So thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Susan has her hand up as well.
Oh, cool. 1 second. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Susan.
I just really wanted to speak on this too. I know I put a little something in the chat, but I keep going back to as within, so without, and so as above, so below.
Yep.
And so I'm generally a very grounded person. So it really helps me to learn more about what's going on out there, to
Yes.
bring it back down in.
Yeah.
And as someone who works in the transformation space with my clients, it really helps me to help them when they get into that, that space of, oh, this is just me. This is just what I'm going through. There's something wrong with me. Why am I like this? That
Yep.
I can give them different perspectives, and say, no, what if this is not just you? What if this is
Yep.
something that's happening all over the place and this is just your portion of it? and having this is the first year that I have been in the current. And it's probably, I would say I've done a lot of things in the last year and a lot of things really in the last 10. And it's the thing that I feel like I got my money's worth and more out of it. I
Thank
can't say that about everything that I've spent my money on.
Well, that
But
is music to my ears, Susan. You have
yeah,
no idea.
yeah. And doing the motion map with you was invaluable. Um, and just having that support on the monthly and going into those deeper conversations that we do in the current has been incredible.
That's so good to hear, Susan. Thank you. And thank you for mentioning the motion map, because can we flip to the next slide, please, Erica? There's 3 left, people. There's 3 spots left. So if you've been waiting, please know there's room, there's still room for you. Now, ordinarily a motion map is $495. Seasonally, I offer 30 seats at $300, take almost $200 off. When the last one's gone, the last one's gone, but there's still 3. And if you've been waiting for an opportunity, now might be yours. Make sure you use the code capital MM 2026 2026 to make sure you get your seasonal rebate. Because if you don't add that in, there won't be a rebate and we won't make changes. Okay, it's a thing. Okay, so 3 slots left. The last one or the offer itself is gone by 5 o'clock Pacific time on Friday, December 19th, or whenever the last one's spoken for. So if they all go tomorrow, we're done. But I wanted to make sure y'all knew there was still 3 opportunities, and I'm going to hold them open for you. Alrighty. And don't let that stop you from putting yourself into the current, okay? Just please put yourself there. Bye, Marilyn. So any questions or shares? Like, I'm just looking at the time, folks. We're 1 minute to 3 o'clock.
I do have a cue.
yes.
I'll just jump out.
Yes, Kalita. Hi.
Hey, hello. I'm operating at the 4th degree. Could you, if you described that, I don't remember, or maybe could you say something about that again?
Yeah. Erica, could you go back to the slides, the 2nd and 3rd formation in July, please? So the thing that's really extraordinary about both of these formations, and just in and of themselves, are just off the charts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when you have the planets, or the bulk of the planets, creating the formation, residing together in their own respective places in the 4th degree, it's a call to stable creation, stable transition, stable transformation. But it also means that you got to put in the work. The door's wide open, and this one in particular, like, this is just off the freaking charts, powerful.
Yeah.
But you have to be with it and listen to the way that your life is calling you to lean in and work with the energies. Because if you don't, you will be inert. You won't move.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do move just kind of from passive, impulse,
Yeah.
What you will do is create from proclivity. And that will not help you create stably. Does that make sense?
Yes, the meaning makes sense. I think I just got caught up on 4th degree of what? It was just that. The meaning and how to show up makes sense.
Right.
It was just the
planets, the core planets involved in creating this formation
Yeah.
are in their relative positions. Each of them is at the 4th degree of the sign they're working in.
Oh, like literally like
Yeah.
4th degree air, 4 degrees Aries.
Yes.
Yes. And guess who has a bunch of personal planets either at 4 or really close?
Uh-huh.
This chicken.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
With the amount of what's going on in July, it makes me think to plan structures of transformation and offerings for that time. That, I mean, it makes me think that. Anyway, I mean, or do you think it's too much? I don't know. I'm just trying, sometimes I wonder, is it the time to plan something? Is it the time to offer something?
So don't come from here.
Okay.
Where do you live and do your work from, Kalita?
Oh, my buddy. Okay, I'll check in.
Okay, good. See, and that's old air. It teaches us to live from here. That's not going to help anybody.
No.
Okay?
Okay.
And I'm not saying air people don't use your brain, don't use your intellect, don't come from there, but come from there in balance with. That's why there's a couple of percussions this year that are balancers and attempting. And same with Mercury. It's like all in waters. Like, why? Because we're trying to help ourselves use this, but not be driven by this the way we've been taught and conditioned to. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And I just want to say, Kalita, thank you for saying what you did, because you're a powerful agent of transformation. And if that happens for you, it's going to happen for all of us.
You mean that coming from the old way? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, again, islands of coherence, my friend. Islands of coherence. Please put yourself in, even if it's not the current. Although I would prefer it is, because I want to hang out with you more. But do yourself a favor and increase the amount of time you invest yourself and spend time in islands of communal coherence.
Yeah.
Because it will help with this. And every one of us is going to need that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So part of the old era is lone wolf.
Yeah.
That's not going to help nobody no more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thanks, Kalita.
Yes.
Karen's got her hand up, Lisa.
I'm sorry, who?
Karen.
Hi,
Lisa. Hi. So I largely want to say hello to everyone on the call. Certainly to you, Lisa. It was probably 15 years ago when there was a workshop in New York State that I met you at. Did some private work. Then you came to New York City once and we got together over lunch and I met some of your friends. So now and then I come to your live gatherings. And two things. One is for the astrology part, I feel like I'm in an advanced class and I didn't take the prerequisite. I largely have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. Something in both your energy, because when I met you before, and when you say something like leaning into what I'm drawn to do, that many phrases like that resonate a lot for me. And something deep inside said, come to this one this month. So I don't know where I'm going with that. And other than when Canadian geese honk and come over my farm in Texas, I think of you. We haven't been in contact, but
I know.
I may just reach out to you. I don't know what to do with that, but I wanted to say I'm here. And the reason I don't say anything or I haven't joined your whatever is that I don't know what you're talking about, except some part of me keeps bringing me here. So
I know. So, please do reach out.
Okay.
I would love to hear from you. And, because you're not the only one who says that. Like the whole astrology just kind of has their brain go fritz. Well, what we want to listen to and listen more deeply to is what pulls us, even though we don't understand it. So I just want to say thank you for saying it that way, because that's what the days ahead are going to be like. That's what for all of us across the board, certainty in many respects goes out the freaking window.
Yep.
And the current and these lives are designed to support you in listening to what pulls you. and to some degree, what pushes you.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So I'm not trying to help you become astrology savvy.
Okay.
I am trying to help you to tune into where you are activated and spoken to by
Okay.
what's moving, so you can listen to your own body. Make sense?
Yeah,
Okay.
it kind of does. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And two things. Sylvia, hello. You and I are connected on Facebook. So I just want to say hello to Sylvia. And the other is 15 years ago when we were working, and you would say, breathe that in.
Yep.
I do. With so many people, I use that when they're missing it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So
It's good to see you again, Karen.
all right. Thanks.
The only other thing I would say is pay attention to the Canadian goose, because I have a suspicion that's a symbol or a metaphor for you.
Huh. Okay.
Okay? Just consider the possibility. Hang out with it as a vibe, okay?
I will. They've come back. It has gotten a little, for the year, but yeah. Okay. I'll ponder that. Thanks. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. All right. Thanks.
Sylvia just said hi to you in the chat.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah. Hi, Sylvia.
Lisa, this is Melissa who can't figure out how to raise her hand
Hi, Melissa.
in this thing. And Karen, I wanted to say, I know a lot about astrology and I'm completely lost. I mean, I have never sat through one of these and been as confused as I am at the moment. But that's okay because it's a huge pattern piece and I don't expect to know anything right now because at best we're going to plant seeds and frequency at best because this is 9,000 years. So we're influencing the very nudging edge of it.
Right.
And what I've been called to in the last couple of, I'd say maybe 2 months is not only do I not think I know anything, which for me is very rare, but I'm going back and rereading just volumes of stuff that I read in the 70s because I'm much older now and I'm getting incredible new insights. So while I'm looking at all of this new age stuff, I'm seeing it from from an eldership perspective. And I guess that's all I wanted to offer is I like this idea of percussions because that's kind of how I feel. I feel like a gong, and before I hit my frequency out into the world, I want to tune that gong or even decide if it's the right one to hit, like
Right.
the right note.
Right.
And so what I find myself doing is I'm not second guessing myself so much as I'm questioning the platform from where I'm speaking.
Right.
And it's changing. So I can't wait to my motion map because I'm probably going to hear this in spades. So that's all I had to say.
I'm looking forward to spending an hour with you, Melissa.
Me too.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything they want to offer or share? Anybody's hand up that I haven't seen? We're going to have a lot more room and space to explore things because I know, like, even preparing this, and I've been preparing this for months. It can feel really overwhelming because there's such a volume and the magnitude of it and the interactivity of it. It's a lot. In the course or in the series, and throughout the year, we're going to have time to talk, to explore, to just all of it. So if you're kind of feeling overfull or overwhelmed or I don't understand, just know that that's part of it. And that's why the series is designed the way that it is. So it gives us room and space to interact with what's occurring, with what's moving, and with what's moving in us together. Okay?
It's just hard to be here in the daytime. If there was some kind of way to do an evening class every once in a while, that would be useful.
Okay. I can't promise that, Melissa, but I'll
No, I
find.
know.
Yeah,
It's just why I'm not there.
I get it.
The other thing I just wanted to I've been waking up with these kinds of dreams, which is I'm very, very aware of what's going on in the AI world. And it is going to take the kind of miracle that I'm not sure can happen. I want it to stop it.
You cannot stop it, Melissa. I just want you to know it's not supposed to be stopped. It's supposed to be partnered with. And that's part of the challenge of our times.
Well,
So,
but I think that's what I'm meaning.
oh, okay.
Because
So,
there's a way to do limited AI that serves humanity.
mhm.
And there's this other thing that is being developed, which is uncontrollable and extraordinarily dangerous. And either one pops up is the world we have to deal with. So my question is not so much question, but I'm questioning the islands of coherence. Makes sense because that's how you stay sane. But I really do feel like this is a local movement that in a sphere of influence where, how do I want to say this? I can affect a local area.
Mhm.
My ability to affect an international area, I'm not sure how that's going to work in AI. I don't know yet. So I'm
Okay.
just,
So remember we talked about Gemini and it's both and?
mhm.
You might want to hang out with that, meditate on that, because the working locally can have international effect beyond your own reckoning or expectations. That's what I want to offer you to hang out with. And that's the power of Gemini. Okay?
Mhm.
Okay. And Uranus working in Gemini. Remember, lightning strikes, complete disruptions, curveballs you cannot predict or control, and that means control mechanisms get disrupted.
Yeah. But Uranus is the focus of my T square. To me, it's like you just get graceful falling. You learn how to, what is that? Arlo Guthrie as he's falling off the cliff, he's writing a song.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, how do you deal with creating in free fall when the world around you is constantly shifting, which I think is what that Merkaba is. The Star of David?
It is to a degree, but it's more than that. Remember that all our symbols, and they're grounded in the old era, they're going to take on new significance, more potency, and wider meaning than we currently understand.
Well, okay.
So
but the Merkaba is the transitional vehicle into the new life.
Yes.
I mean that it's never stays in shape. It never stays anchored. It's multidimensional.
Right. It is multidimensional. And what we understand about it has been limited to the constraints of the frameworks of the old era. There will be understandings that emerge about it and how to work with it that are going to blow our minds. We can't predict it. That implies a degree of control and certainty. It's just not going to be that way. And the last thing, and then I'm going to say, let's talk about this when we get to your motion map. Your map is your map. But the map for the world, with all this moving around, is not that. It has its own motion. It has its own energy. Your map is going to interact with that. But your question is specific to you, not to the whole. And I just want to underscore that for all of us. My map has its own pull in some ways. So when you say you're talking about your T-square, I'm like, well, okay, and what?
Oh, no, I was making a joke because as having Uranus as my T-square, which I would not really recommend, it's just you fall a lot. You just learn. I call it, you get graceful at falling Because if you resist it, you're going to get hurt.
Right. And that's part of the
And that's
catalytic
mine.
and
Right.
energy of your progressions
Right.
along your master path. I mean, it's supposed to
Right.
be there. It's wise. It's intentional. All those other
Yeah.
things. And yes, I cannot wait to talk to you during your motion map, my friend. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to ask or share? An aha. There's about 10 of us still left. Or are we feeling full and complete today?
Full and complete and in thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
And
Yep.
I just wanted to say thank you, Lisa. The way that you put information together is so exquisite. And it's just, I make up the story that it's you living your divine design. And you do such a wonderful job. That sounds trite, even saying it that way. Wonderful job being of service with the incredible insights that you have and the way you organize the information, and you still bring your playful, fun energy to it. It's wonderful to witness what being of service looks like.
It is part of my map, so you know. And if there's something about the way I occupy service that tickles you, please know that's you recognizing you. Okay? And thank you, Adele. Music to my ears, truly. I appreciate it. Okay, friends. The course, please put yourself in. Consider becoming a current member so you get the course and all the other goodies there, plus the community throughout the year at the same price. Okay? Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring and investing yourself and practicing and picking yourself up when you fall down and bump your knees or all the other things. I appreciate you more than I have words to say. And I'm never going to be able to find those words. I appreciate you. You are what reminds me of the light.
And right back at you.
Oh, thank you.
I know hundreds of astrologers. I only listen to one.
Wow. That's high praise, Melissa. Thank you.
So love to all of you. Survive the holidays and enjoy them.
A blessed final part of the year of 2025 and a sweet start to 2026, friends. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
So much, Lisa.
And thank you, Erica.
Yes, thank you, Erica.
Thank you, Erica.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.